Hi kids! Today we're going to be reading a story called A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. This story is about a girl named Camila and her stripes. I wonder how she got them. Do you have any idea? Well, let's read and find out. Camila Cream loves lima beans. But she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans and she wanted to fit in. Camila was always worried about what other people thought about her. Today, she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked in the mirror. Then she screamed. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camila. "Most extraordinary!" he exclaimed. "I've never seen anything like it. Are you having coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pain, chill, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camila told him. "I feel fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Miss Cream, "I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that should help clear up those stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me." And off he went. The other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camila turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard!" and a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon, everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camila was changing faster than you can change channels on a TV. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camila home from school. She's just too much of a distraction, and I've been getting calls from the other parents. They're afraid those stripes may be contagious." Camila was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago everybody liked her. Now, nobody wanted to be in the same room with her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camila. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans. But she had been laughed at enough for one day. Well, yes, I see," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream phoned the next day. "I think I'd better bring in the specialists. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. "This is Dr. Grop, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young." Then the specialists went to work on Camila. They squeezed and jabbed, tapped and tested. It was very uncomfortable. "Well, it's not mumps," concluded Dr. Grop. "Or the measles," said Dr. Sponge. "Definitely not chicken pox," put in Dr. Cricket. "Or sunburn," said Dr. Young. "Try these," said the specialists. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. "Take one of each before bed," said Dr. Gropp. Then they filed out the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. That night, Camila took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring right back at her, was a giant, multicolored pill with her face on it. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Mrs. Cream called. But this time, instead of the specialists, he brought the experts. Dr. Gord and Mr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camila was poked and prodded, looked at, and listened to. The experts wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered. Dr. Gord finally spoke. "It might be a virus," he announced with authority. Suddenly, fuzzy little virus balls appeared all over Camila. "Or possibly some form of bacteria," said Dr. Mellon. Out popped squiggly little bacteria tails. "Or it could be a fungus," added Dr. Gord. Instantly, Camila was covered with different colored fungus biochas. The experts looked at Camila, then at each other. "We need to go over these numbers again, back at the lab," Dr. Gord explained. "We'll call you when we know something." But the experts didn't have a clue, much less a cure. By now, the TV news had found out about Camila. Reporters from every channel were outside their house telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon, a huge crowd was camped out on the front lawn. The Creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, physics, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camila's strange appearance, until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers, and a long furry tail, but nothing worked. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly, "but I think I can help." She went into Camila's room and looked around. "My goodness," she said with a shake of her head. "What we have here is a bad case of stripes. One of the worst I've ever seen." She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. "Here," she said, "these might do the trick." "Are those magic beans?" asked Mrs. Cream. "Oh my, no," replied the kind old woman. "There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I bet you'd like some, wouldn't you?" she asked Camila. Camila wanted a big heaping plateful of lima beans more than just about anything, but she was still afraid to admit it. "Yuck," she said. "No one likes lima beans, especially me." "Oh dear," the woman said sadly. I guess I was wrong about you." She put the beans back in her bag and started toward the door. Camila watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good, and being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she'd been going through. She finally couldn't stand it. "Wait," she cried. "The truth is, I really love lima beans." "I thought so," the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camila's mouth. Said Camila. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then, the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camila, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured," she shouted. "Yes," said the old woman. "I knew the real you was in there." She patted Camila on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Afterward, Camila wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care one bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had even a touch of stripes again. Wow, it looks like Camila just had to admit that she liked lima beans. What do you think about that? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below and like and subscribe to Kate Productions for more stories like this. Thank you.